Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and it's Hump Day. Joining me as always is my talented and beautiful co-host, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all of our listeners. I have a more innocent joke for you this time.
Let's hear it.
How do you measure a snake?
You look at it and then add 3 inches to its actual length.
Well, you're almost there. It's in inches. They don't have feet.
Yeah, that makes
You know, when I actually came across this question myself, in my mind, I took that literally, and I was like, with a ruler?
I could see how someone might make that mistake.
Snake is snake.
We'll go with your answer.
I like mine.
For new listeners, Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for thought. I was fighting back a sneeze there.
I saw it.
It's still trying to come out.
Voyse is one of those people, if I look at her while she sneezes, she can't sneeze.
I can't. It's fighting me right now.
So sometimes it makes me feel guilty for looking at you when you can't sneeze.
It's slowly going away. Damus,
Voyse?
do you know what day it is?
It's Hump Day.
It's also Hydration Wednesday.
Oh, yes.
So don't forget to keep up on your water intake, everyone.
This.
Just don't drink too much of it. That's actually not good for you too.
You can drown on water. Wait. You can't drown on land.
You can drown on water. Not in it, just on it.
Yes, it's a new thing.
Well, while you go ahead and enjoy your hydration, why don't we go ahead and delve into these stories? For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. For our first story, am I the a-hole for telling my husband's affair baby's family to either come get the kid or I'm calling Child Protective Services? My female 53, soon-to-be ex-husband, Roger, 47, whom I forgave for his affair, came home with a baby 4 months ago. His girlfriend, 22, could not handle it anymore and brought the baby to him at work and left. To the best of his knowledge, she is in Spain. I allowed him to stay so long as I didn't have to do anything. Anything. Well, about a month ago, Roger had a heart attack. It didn't kill him, more's the pity, but he is very weak and incapable of doing anything for himself. Since he isn't up and about, he cannot care for his child. He also cannot drop off and pick up his son at daycare. I have been helping, but I'm done. My kids are full grown. I shouldn't be having grandkids anytime soon. I do not have any desire to care for a baby. I told Roger that I want a divorce, and I contacted the mother's parents. I know the father through friends. I said they have until Friday to come get their grandchild, or I was calling Child Protective Services. They just left with the baby, but they scolded me for being so cold towards a baby that had done me no harm. I view that child differently. Roger is recovering, and I will be moving out. The house is in his name, but I have never contributed to it. I have the equivalent of 22 years of rent and interest put away. And as per our prenup, my savings are my own. I work, and I don't need anything out of this marriage except myself. My kids tried telling me to stay and help their father. I said that they are welcome to come over and help him with cleaning himself and the baby. Both declined what I felt was a fair offer. I do not feel that I am acting badly, however. Roger, our children, his child's family, and a few mutual friends think I am. Perhaps writing this out and seeing the responses will give me clarity. Am I the a-hole?
I hope it gave you clarity, OP. I don't believe you're the a-hole. I think there's a lot of interesting facts in this story, though. That age gap between your husband and the woman he cheated on you with is vast.
Over 20 years.
Yeah. My thing would be, why didn't you go ahead and from the day you found out that he had cheated with you and sired a child from that situation, why didn't you just go ahead and end it there? What was the reason for holding on past this point? Especially because all you did at this point was create more
bitterness?
Yeah, especially that. Because what you ended up essentially doing was agreeing to still stay in a home with a man who now has a baby, which you want no part of because you said it yourself. Your children are all grown up and you're past that phase in your life. But you were willing to still stick it out as long as you didn't have anything to do with this child. I can't imagine in a world where you live in a home but have nothing to do with the children that inhabit that home, and that not impacting those children in a terrible way.
Or yourself because you're feeling better all the time.
So I wonder why it is you chose to keep going. But hey, it sounds like you made yourself a nice nest egg. You were able to walk away without there being any financial constraints.
Correct.
And I think ideally that's where I think most people want to get in their relationship, where they're not forced to be stuck in a place because of financials, that they can just allow themselves to be freely within their relationship. Not everyone gets that opportunity. So your husband chose the path he wanted to walk down. It's funny because the kids are telling their mother to essentially deal with this and, take care of Pops. And then she turns it around on him. You can do that. You can take care of him and the child. And I think there's 2 kids. They were like, you know what? It's all good. It's not on anyone to have to take care of somebody, especially when you've done wrong by them. Hopefully the husband is able to take care of himself, though. I don't wish ill, even if you are a cheater. I don't want bad things to happen to you. So hopefully he's able to figure out that situation. Yeah, you're not the a-hole, OP. Live your life. You didn't choose for your husband to cheat on you and have a kid with someone who's 20 plus years younger than he is.
The consensus on Reddit is that our OP's not the a-hole. Redditors were essentially calling out the kids saying, you have a lot of gall to say that someone who essentially cheated on your mother needs to go ahead and put up and suck up, but you won't do that same thing.
The grandparents essentially did the same thing the kids did. They're trying to guilt the OP in the situation the same way.
Oh, I think it's actually extremely gross. There were Redditors that was pointing out, so wait, we're not talking about the mother who just decided to up and leave this small child. As of from when the OP was saying this child is about a year old now. So it's not newborn, but I mean, it's a fairly young child, and this 22-year-old decides that she just wants to up and
abandon it.
Yep. Now, other Redditors were coming forward and saying, look, for just healthy relationships, it often gets strained when you have someone in the family fall ill and they need daily care. It can start breaking down relationships.
Yes.
You're adding to this that the person that's fallen ill had done something as heinous as cheat, and you're expecting someone to go ahead and just cow down to it. How can you expect for that to be okay? And nobody should be throwing any type of judgment to our OP and how they feel. If they want out of this relationship because it has made them unhappy and bitter, then they should be able to walk away from this relationship. And, Roger, he can definitely find his own way. Not to say that it won't be difficult, but Roger shouldn't have made the choices he made then.
We reap what we sow.
Now, I actually have an update from our OP, so let me go ahead and get right into it. OP says, I am no longer divorcing Roger. There were complications with his heart attack and he has passed away.
Whoa.
I am conflicted. He was the love of my life, but also a cheating piece of trash. To the best of my knowledge, the mother will not return from Europe. The child is currently with her parents. They asked me what I wanted to do. I recommended adoption. Not that I adopt the child, that they need to put the child up for adoption. They didn't like that suggestion. Neither did my children. They said I am being cold and cruel. I suggested that since the child is related to them and not to me, that they step up. Neither has accepted that suggestion either. I was the sole beneficiary of Roger's estate, so I imagine lawyers will be involved in getting the child some sort of support. I will pay whatever is ordered by the court out of the estate. I will not pay 1 cent out of my money. That is all I have to say on this matter.
At least she's very upfront about the whole thing. I can appreciate when people tell their truth. And she's not shirking away from her unfortunately passed away husband's responsibility.
She's also not trying to screw anybody over, but she is trying to call them out that if you're trying to throw stones in my court saying that I need to do something, you have more responsibility to this child than I do.
The only one that pays here is the child.
And that is the sad, sad truth of it all.
She does say it. She's very conflicted here. Obviously, Roger was the love of her life, and then he repaid that faithfulness with infidelity. And it all happened so quickly. Like it's a boom, boom situation. He cheats, gets pregnant, Baby gets dropped off. He has heart attack, and then he passes. I can't imagine how in a blink of an eye your life is this one, I guess we'll say not perfect, but if he was the love of her life, we've got to assume that
ideal life.
As ideal as you can get, right? They had their kids already. They're grown up and moved out.
They probably had ups and downs like any other couple did.
They're starting the next phase of their life. And then all of this happens probably within a year or two span. Please go seek counseling. This situation is rough and you don't want to keep carrying all of this, especially when none of it was your fault. Although she is very grounded. She understands what it is and what it isn't. She's not trying to grab the kid and adopt the child. She knows what she wants for this part of her life. But again, I give her kudos for not sitting there and going, all that money in the estate is mine and I'm going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that this child doesn't have any. She is aware and accepts the mistake her husband made and is still willing to do right by that child. More so than the biological mother that went off to Europe and is essentially not coming back anymore. I hope the court system comes after you because you can't just abandon your child.
Well, I have one more last update for you from our OP. I like that look. The girl's parents finally did the right thing and cut her off. I had passed along their contact information to several dozen Redditors who seemed eager to help. Just an email. I did not reveal their identities or even their names. I believe this pressure convinced them to act. They finally got the clue that I would in no way take any responsibility for the child. Between her parents no longer funding her and the current climate in Spain against visitors, the child's mother has returned. I have washed my hands of the entire situation, except for one thing. I have spoken with the lawyers and I will be splitting some of Roger's estate into 3 parts for the children. My children will get theirs immediately as they are adults. The child's money will be going into a trust with his brother and sister as the trustees. This will take some doing, and as such will mean more money goes to the lawyers. Perhaps Shakespeare was correct with regards to that profession. My children are now less enthusiastic about their young sibling, but that is neither here nor there. They are the ones who insisted I involve myself. If there is anything left when I pass, they can split that between themselves, as I will not be leaving anything to that child. Thank you all for your help in my reaching clarity. I was letting my anger cloud my judgment and sense of fairness.
There's a lot of bad in the story, but it's nice when you can have someone be able to take measure, understand the situation, and then when they can't, be allowed to be shown that through other people and still make the right decisions. So kudos to her.
I find it funny that when her children realize that their
Getting
inheritance is going to be split, that for them now it's something sour to chew upon. I also think that it is equally hilarious that you have this girl's parents who apparently were funding her staying in Spain. I don't understand as a parent why you would give money to your child to run away from their responsibilities.
I wonder if it was their way of trying to force the issue on the now unfortunately passed away ex-husband. Maybe they were trying to force that situation onto that family, ROP's family, and have the daughter go away because obviously the child couldn't be anywhere else but adoption, but she was so steadfast in what she was going to do that it forced the child back to them.
That's true.
That's the only way I would think you being okay with your daughter abandoning her child would go. Now, there's something to be said for who exactly was going to be responsible for the child, because obviously he wasn't going to marry her. It wasn't going to be like that. But I hope that there was at least paperwork drawn up in a courtroom saying, you know, we're talking about custody and what the child was owed and all of that. I hope it wasn't just some thing that happened and everyone's playing it by ear. It kind of sounds like that was the situation for a little bit, though.
That's the feeling, as if, all right, our daughter no longer wants to take care of this kid. We're going to force it on the dad. And when the worst, unfortunately, befell the dad, they were trying to force this child on our OP. Our OP knows right off the bat that she's got bad feelings for this child. And it's no fault of the child. It's also no fault of our OP to have those feelings.
Well, I hope for the 22-year-old, if really this is gotten to the point where she can't take care of the kid, because there's a lot of people who, when they do have a child, they can't. I understand that. It's not for everyone. If they're at that point in their life where they cannot, I hope that they do get the child into adoption and find loving parents that will take on that for everyone's sake. If this is not what she can handle right now, I'm okay with understanding that about people. But what you cannot do is run off to another country and believe that your responsibilities to your child are done. That's where you're wrong.
I agree. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about work and a pregnancy. Am I the a-hole for reporting my boss after he forced me to attend a meeting despite knowing I was in labor? I, 28 female, have been working at my company for 5 years, and until recently, I loved my job. I was 8 months pregnant when this happened, about a month ago, so I started having contractions while at work. Since I was not due yet, I thought it was just Braxton Hicks because they weren't that intense. Just a week before that, I had experienced Braxton Hicks and went to the hospital, but it was a false alarm. This time, I was still working when the contractions started in the morning. And again, I thought it was Braxton Hicks. I didn't want to cause a scene, so I tried to keep working. Last time I went to the hospital, my boss, John, 45 male, made sarcastic comments about me being overly dramatic and joked about how I should schedule my labor around important meetings. I have social anxiety and tend to take people's crap without pushing back, so I just took it. By noon, the contractions were getting stronger and closer together, and I knew it was real labor. I needed to go to the hospital. I informed John that I was in labor and needed to leave. He rolled his eyes and said, "Just stay for the meeting at 1 p.m. It's crucial and we need you there." I was stunned. I reiterated that I was in active labor and needed to go to the hospital immediately. John snapped back, "It's just a meeting. Sit through it and then you can go. It's not like the baby is going to pop out right now." Feeling pressured and scared for my job, I reluctantly stayed. The meeting lasted an excruciating 2 hours. By the end of it, I was in so much pain that I could barely walk. I finally left and drove myself to the hospital where I was admitted immediately. My husband reached 30 to 40 minutes later because he was on the other side of town for a meeting. My daughter was born later that evening, thankfully healthy despite the delay. When I told my husband what had happened, he was furious and insisted we report John to HR. I was hesitant because I didn't want to jeopardize my job, but I agreed it was the right thing to do. HR was appalled and assured me they would handle the situation. John has since been suspended pending an investigation. The real kicker? During the investigation, it came out that John had emailed the entire office while I was in labor, complaining about my lack of commitment and making fun of me for overreacting. He even implied that I was using my pregnancy as an excuse to get out of work. Now my coworkers are pissed at me, saying I overreacted and that I should have just sucked it up for the sake of the company. I've even received messages and emails from a few colleagues saying that I've ruined John's career and that he was just doing his job under pressure. One even said that I should have toughed it out like their wife did during her pregnancy. The stress from this whole ordeal has made it difficult to enjoy my first few days with my newborn. I'm constantly second-guessing myself and feeling guilty, despite knowing I did what was best for my baby and me. To make matters worse, the interim manager who took over from John is even worse. He's made it clear to everyone that he resents my actions and has made my return to work unbearable. Now that my maternity leave is over, I find myself isolated at work. People give me side eyes and whisper about me. During lunch, I'm alone because no one wants to sit with the troublemaker. It feels like high school all over again. I dread going into work each day and facing the hostility and judgment. I never imagined that doing what was right for my health and my baby's well-being would turn my colleagues against me like this. It's gut-wrenching to feel so isolated and vilified for simply standing up for myself and my rights. I cry most of the time when I come home, and sometimes even in the office washroom when someone passes a comment. In the worst moments, I get mad at my husband and blame him for making me tell HR, even though I know he did the right thing. He's so sweet and never takes it to heart. I apologize soon after, but he always says he wasn't even mad and that he understands how I'm feeling, especially since I'm just 1 month postpartum. He says I should take action and complain, but I don't want to make things worse. He's also saying he can't see me like this and that I should just quit because it's hurting him. I don't know what to do. I'm just such a sensitive and emotional person in general, and now it's been worse since giving birth. Am I the a-hole for reporting my boss after he forced me to attend a meeting despite knowing I was in labor?
Absolutely not, OP. This is a tragically sad story. I don't care what kind of pressure you're under. When someone tells you they're in labor, you know how he's like, it's a meeting. Just suck it up. You're right. It's just a meeting. You know, meetings can be postponed or put at another date. That happens a lot. Being flexible is important, especially in business. Everyone understands that. So if she's a vital cog in the machine, you let her go handle her business, which in this case would be delivering her baby safely, and postpone the meeting. Or make it to where you don't have a bottleneck in your system where you're relying solely on one person. That's a failure on management. I'm trying not to get upset because there's many ways to have solved this problem without it being where one person is basically trash canned and then talked about to other employees as if it's a problem to have been pregnant and giving birth. Your husband in that moment was very correct. Report him. And then what you should have done is when the new guy rolled in and had that heinous comment to say about how he doesn't agree with how you handled your business with the other guy, you should have reported him too. And then if we have a problem, if it's still continuing, then we need to step this up past HR. This needs to be going to an employment attorney, because what you have here now is an unsafe work environment that you said all of this is happening within a month of your birth. Now your husband, for the advice he's giving you at this stage, I think is not okay. Quitting just to quit because you're being essentially bullied doesn't do you any good, especially if you don't have anything to, and I don't know what their financials look like, but to quit because you're being harassed by people at your workplace isn't a good, in my opinion anyway, isn't a good thing, because not only are you letting them win on that front, now you're putting yourself in a financial issue. You're compounding the stress. At least we know where this one stress is coming from right now. But making it far worse like that, I don't agree with that. That might be more an emotional response, because he's saying, I can't possibly see you in this state. Well, the things that you can do to help this is, again, lawyer up, because what's happened here is a grave injustice. I don't think anyone should have to go through a 2-hour meeting when they tell you they're pregnant. That is, John is very lucky something didn't happen to that child or the mother. I don't care about your career. It doesn't, that you forfeited the second you started telling someone else how to handle their body. I don't care what position they hold. And it sucks for her that, and this is why I say it, what I said earlier about the job and just quitting. She feared for losing her job. There's a reason why she feared and put up with all of that. And for her husband to just go, give it up because I don't want to see you in this state. You're not respecting what your wife was trying to do. How fearful she was of losing that job, because I'm assuming maybe because if she didn't have that job, maybe you guys are in a different financial situation.
And that's very true.
So in my opinion, obviously she's the a-hole.
Wow.
I just wanted to see your eyes flick up.
and it did.
She is not the a-hole. I hope going forward, though, you guys are able to get a lawyer, get this straightened out, and get what you deserve, because this is unsat and it should not be something we accept ever.
The consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. In fact, Redditors also pointed out that the reason why HR has taken the steps that they did is because of the severity. Had something gone wrong? And the fact that OP is getting harassed at work by other individuals, they need to go ahead and get HR involved.
Get them all.
And if HR can't be of help, then you know what? They need to go ahead and take legal outside help on this to get it corrected. A lot of Redditors were saying gather any evidence, emails, conversational trails, whatever it is that you need to get. Just get it all prepared, because having all of that will help you in the long run. And you know what? If they have to learn from their pocket to make sure that the culture of their company is a good one, then that's just the way that they're going to have to learn. because it's not a way to treat anybody. And to understand that you have the rights as an individual to be treated with respect, that's just basic for everyone.
Stay strong, OP.
You got this, OP. Well, let's go on to our next story and see what you think about a gender reveal. Am I the a-hole for ruining my own gender reveal party? I'm pregnant with a baby boy due in November. My fiance and I didn't care much about the sex of our child, so we didn't make too much noise about it once we found out. The only people we'd informed were our parents, their partners, and our siblings. Prior to this, my father's girlfriend of 3 years had been asking me about my plans for a gender reveal party. I've always been clear about not wanting one. When I announced my son's gender to them, she expressed disappointment that I hadn't changed my mind about a party. I don't like gender reveals. Never have, never will. I prefer baby showers, which I think feels more about the actual child. I never tried to hide that opinion either. Days later, my father's girlfriend invited me over for tea at their apartment. My dad was out of town. When I got there, about a dozen people popped out of hiding to surprise me. There were pink and blue decorations everywhere, which made what was going on pretty clear. As I stood there in shock, my father's girlfriend excitedly told me they were throwing me a surprise gender reveal party. Since I'd already told her, she had taken it upon herself to order a cake with colorful frosting, decorated the apartment, and invited a bunch of people over. The guests included her mother, whom I don't get along with, some of her friends, my mother-in-law, not my mom, and 4 of my friends. As I later found out, my mother-in-law and friends had been told I changed my mind about gender reveals. I had not. Still in the doorway, I looked over at everyone and said, "It's a boy. You guys can go home now," and left without looking back. Hours later, my father called me furious that I'd ruined the party. He said his girlfriend had put a lot of effort, money, and love into planning it, and I should have shown respect and gratitude for it. Apparently, she hadn't stopped crying since I left. It's been almost a week, and they're both still upset. Even after I explained I never wanted that party in the first place, they insisted I could have sucked it up for an hour or at least cut the cake. Am I the a-hole? Just to provide a little bit more information to you, a Redditor wondered if maybe the girlfriend was trying to one-up OP's mom regarding the party. Our OP's response was, "I asked my mom and she confirmed she wasn't invited. According to my father's girlfriend, she didn't have her number." That's probably true, but I have no idea how she could have gotten my mother-in-law's.
You know, there is such a thing as social media, and it's a pretty easy way to get a hold of people now. So phone numbers really, they don't stick the way they used to.
I just can't imagine that her father doesn't know her mother's phone number.
That Redditor probably hit it more on the nose with trying to, I guess,
one up. But don't let that influence you. We'd still like to hear your viewpoint. I just wanted to go ahead and throw something out there because I wasn't sure if you picked up that her mother wasn't invited.
Yeah. So we'll mosey on into this story. ROP lets everyone know in her personal life, because she makes no effort at not letting this be known to people. She doesn't like gender reveals. Never has, never will. She prefers baby showers. And I'm certain that her dad's girlfriend would understand that and should have respected that that's a boundary and a want. She did not. And proceeded to invite, I guess, OP's 4 friends and then a couple of other people. And I think one of them she did not like.
The girlfriend's mother.
I think it's hilarious when she walks into this thing and just goes, she looks around, she knows what this is, sees the balloons and the festivities. It's a boy. Deuces.
You can go home now.
I understand maybe the initial thought of going, oh, let's throw her a gender reveal. She doesn't know that she doesn't like it. And I hate when people say that, where they're like, oh, she just thinks she hates it because she hasn't had it for herself. I've heard that many times. Ugh. And then they go and push past the wants and wishes of a person because they're like, how do you know what you don't know? Let's go ahead and do this. I'm thinking that's what this was, outside of her, yes, one-upping the OP's mother somehow by excluding her.
I find it interesting because our OP made it clear that when she spoke to the mother-in-law and her 4 friends, that she found out that the girlfriend said that she had changed her mind about gender reveals.
Yeah, that's some wild manipulation right there. To get everyone to come together for this one thing, to push past all of that.
Because yes, as someone that you would know, they'd be like, that's really weird. I thought X and X person didn't like gender reveals. And they're like, oh no, they changed their mind now.
And then you have them trying to be good friends and not reveal that this is a thing that's happening. They're a part of it.
But you know who would have revealed that?
The mom.
The real mom.
Yeah. Which is why she was never a part of this.
At least that's my assumption here.
No, that's a good lead. I like it, Detective Voice.
Thank you.
In my opinion, OP, you're not the a-hole. What the story comes down to is you had a boundary. It was crossed. And then the worst part, because this is like the absolute cherry on top of this, your father calls you up and tries to make you feel ashamed because of how hard his girlfriend worked to get this party to happen for you.
This lie.
Oh, man. The audacity. Yeah. He's a clown, and it shows that he's no better than the company he keeps, because he can't even understand what a boundary looks like. Why would I expect the partner he picked to understand what that looks like? So in my opinion, you pulled a pretty boss move.
So the consensus on Reddit is our OP's not the a-hole. For Redditors, it comes down to, look, you told everybody that you didn't want this. And when someone tried to force you into it, they expected for you to be okay with it. You dealt with it like a pro. The only person that embarrassed this girlfriend was herself. I think the real problem here is that the girlfriend was trying to use the social pressure of being in the spotlight to keep our OP quiet.
She don't play those games.
Nope. When you have a strong individual who is very confident in what their choices are in life, that doesn't work on them. So honestly, good on our OP. Keep being strong. I know a lot of people would probably be shell-shocked and would be ushered in and would have a slice of cake, but our OP said it in the comment section. She still got her cake because her fiance got her one after this whole thing.
Oh, thank goodness. I'd have been like, I'm deucing, but I'm taking that thing with me.
No, our fiance decided that he wanted to go ahead and give her a cake because he agreed with her.
Good support system.
Well, let's go on to our last story. And I'm back to the Traumatize Them Back page because, man, these stories are really funny in my opinion. And let's see what you think about some hair. For our last story, don't touch my kid's hair. My 8-year-old daughter has very red hair, leaning more toward auburn. She's never cut it. We call it the Long Hair Don't Care Club because mine is pretty long too. Hers, though, is so long she has to pull it out from under her when she sits. She loves her hair. So do her father and I. Every redhead knows that in public, people will always try to touch it, mostly older white ladies. So the story, older white lady in the grocery store goes to touch her hair. She's used to people trying to touch her and hates it, and very vocally told her, "Don't touch me." I've taught her to be loud about it because it'll embarrass and stop most people. But not this lady. A few aisles over, we are picking what type of crackers she wants when old bitch again comes by. My daughter has a sparkly pink baseball cap on with her ponytail through the loop. This fucking woman grabbed her ponytail and ran her hand down it and said, "Oh, it feels so nice." I replied, "Well, it should, considering it's a wig and you are complimenting a cancer patient on someone else's hair because she doesn't have any." Bitch turned white as a wedding gown. I said, "Stop touching her or I will touch you." Cue the clutching of pearls and turning beet red. She starts to apologize and tries to reach to my kid yet again. My daughter told her, "If you touch me again, I'll bite you." She left us alone after that, but I got a few stank-eyed looks from her for the rest of the time we shopped. We checked out. I'm loading my cart, and lo and behold, this bitch was handing my kid a Hershey bar. My kid crossed her arms tight and told her she was allergic. She isn't, but LOL. So I guess all that hammering of never take an offer from a stranger with candy stuck. Fuck that lady.
You did a good job with teaching your child that no one should be putting hands on them ever. And if someone does, do not be ashamed of making it known that what's happening is inappropriate and not what they want. It's a very important lesson to teach our children. So the fact that she's able to do that at 8 years old, good on you, OP. And then, yes, don't take things from strangers.
One of the reasons why I picked this story is because there's a lot of people that do not like their spaces encroached upon. Now, there's a lot of other people that don't mind. For me, if I don't know you, don't touch me. That is always my thing. I love giving people compliments. When I see that someone has a really cool tattoo or that their hair is put up in a different style or has different colors, when someone has dresses, jewelry, I love complimenting other people. What I don't do is I don't put my hands on them. You can compliment someone with your words. You don't need to touch them with your hands. Now you're just being rude because you feel like you have some onus to it. And I think for me, bringing out this story where this 8-year-old is learning that she's got the autonomy to say, don't touch me, you're a stranger, and that it takes her mom to essentially, she made up this story, right? But
oh, yeah, the cancer story.
She made up this story. But the thing is, you should never assume someone's situation.
Yes.
This, for as far as this old lady knows, this is a real thing that's happening. And you just made it really awkward because you didn't understand that when that little girl said, don't touch me the first time, that you shouldn't have done it the second because her back was turned. To me, there's something different if someone was to ask you and then you get permission versus you just think that you have that right.
Always ask for permission.
I find that the second really funny thing is that little girl says, don't touch me or I'll bite you.
Hey, mom taught her right. Strangers should not be tolerated, especially when they're willing to cross a boundary and invade your personal space.
And this child is so strong. She gets offered that Hershey bar. And that child crosses her arms, apparently so tightly because that little girl probably really wants a piece of chocolate. And she's like, I'm allergic. She's like, I learned that word from my mom.
So was that our last story?
That was our last story.
I appreciated every single one of your stories. I think one of them got me a little too upset.
Was it the labor one?
Definitely. That's the one.
I think for me, the one that really rankled my feathers is the gender reveal one. You and I aren't planning on doing any of that. I agree with OP that there's more to the baby shower than there is to just a gender reveal.
I think we both are ready to, when they can actually see the gender, just let us know.
Yeah.
I think we're 3 weeks off from knowing?
I'm so excited.
Yeah. We're going for a fantasy theme.
Ooh. Yeah, because we're a little bit of a nerd.
A little bit?
Yeah, a combination of nerd and geek.
Take a look, baby. There's no little bits. That's a flame of the West.
Oh, that's such a lovely sword.
Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications for new content. We regularly post on Mondays and Wednesdays. And on our Patreon, we have Damas After Dark, where we talk about other stories.
Yeah, it's a good way to kick off the weekend.
I think so. We would also love to thank all of our Patreons for your support.
Yes, we love and appreciate every single one of y'all. As always, listeners, we look forward to hearing your opinions in the comments below. What did you think about the stories today?
I thought I picked some pretty good stories.
I will undoubtedly agree with you.
And I can't wait to hear people's viewpoints. Have you ever had somebody try and touch your hair?
Yes, a lot when I was growing up.
Oh, that's because you had that nice curly hair. I remember those pictures.
It was lush.
It was. And now look at you.
It is what it is at this point. Find myself caring less and less about my hair as I get older.
I love your hair.
And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.